November 2023 Oracle Analytics Live. This will be the final for the year, and we'll be back in January with another update. So this is our safe harbor statement. I just want to throw this out here. And let's hop into the agenda. So we're going to take a look at the roadmaps for Fusion Analytics as well as Oracle Analytics Cloud. We'll take a look at what's new for November quickly, and then we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into what actually has been released for November with some demos, as well as a demo with Fusion Analytics CX at the end. Fari, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Alex. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Fari Javan-Mahdi, and I'm a Principal Product Manager here at the Product and Strategy team for Oracle Analytics. And I'm going to quickly review the Fusion Analytics roadmap. So if you can move to the next slide, Alex. Perfect. So as you see in the roadmap, we have 3 different columns. One is current, which shows the items that are released as of the latest version being released. We have the upcoming column, which shows some of the enhancements and features that we're looking towards to during the next few releases, normally around 6 months time frame. And then the future column shows that the future roadmap items normally around 1 year time frame from now. But starting from the first section, which is ERP, as you see, we have released the configurable account analysis, which was a highly asked feature from our ERP analytics customers. But for the next couple of releases, we're working on the Fusion Accounting Hub, which is another highly requested capability for the customers that are leveraging the Accounting Hub in the ERP side. They can bring in the data to the ERP analytics and use the out-of-the-box content, as well as doing some custom content with that data. Moving to the HCM, you probably have heard from us about the focus on people, leaders, analytics. If you have joined the previous OA Live, I demoed some of the current workbooks that are a part of the people, leaders, analytics, and we continue doing that. But a big part of the focus for all people managers is the payroll. So as of the last release, we have the payroll subject area available for the customers. And in the next releases, we will have the out-of-the-box workbooks for the payroll as well. So you can see that payroll analytics. And then we will have the payroll costing and payroll cost balances as well released in the few versions. Just to touch on a couple ML capabilities on the HCM analytics side, attrition prediction, which is a highly requested capability for the HCM side, as well as the inferred skills are also being developed. So if you have any comments on that, very happy to hear some of the feedback and use cases that you have. So moving to the SCM, as you see across all columns, we have a big focus on the manufacturing analytics. So manufacturing work orders are released, and we will work on further manufacturing analytics in the next few releases. On the CX side, Salesforce analytics is a big ask from our customers. So a lot of the CX customers are also using Salesforce. So they want to have an end-to-end integration with Salesforce so they can bring in the data, have custom ETLs, custom semantic models to ensure that they can do the analytics inside the CX analytics for Fusion. So that is being worked on. And then moving towards the platform, we have the frequent data refresh already being worked on. So for the customers that need more frequent data refresh on their Fusion data, they can leverage that and have it assigned to specified subject areas and tables. And also, other thing that I wanted to touch on is the data augmentation connectors. We do have a lot of data augmentation connectors already in preview. So you can, if you are a Fusion Analytics customer, you can go ahead and enable that and start testing out the connectors. They will be generally available soon. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Fari. We'll move over now to Ben, who's going to give us an update on the Oracle Analytics Cloud and Server roadmap.
Perfect. Thank you, Alex. So I'm going to start, and thank you all for joining the Oracle Analytic webinar. So first, we are going to see the Oracle Analytic roadmap. So on this roadmap, you can see the current feature that have been released. We can see that Auto Insight is now available to filter by Insight. We have also a lot of AI integration. So we know that AI is the buzzword right now, but you can see we have integration with Vision AI, data science, AutoML, language AI, and more. Alex will speak about the new features, so I'm going to move to what's upcoming. So again, more AI with document AI integration, language AI integration. We will have an Oracle Analytic AI digital assistant. We are going to have OCI AI face detection, which is really cool. AI enhanced homepage for search and ask. So again, a lot of AI integration. We are going to have new data visualization type like the Gauge, the Sankey, which is going to be enhanced. We are going to have the Gantt box, the Gantt chart, the N box, and more. A few things that we will have also: Microsoft Team integration. We are going to have the integration with OCI Object Store. We will have new connector like Delta Share, OCI Data Flow Interactive, Google Analytics, OData, and more. One thing that can help you with adoption for your users, it's scheduled delivery of workbook. You can now deliver all your workbook by email in PDF format or as an image. So it's very, very popular, and a lot of people start to use that. Also coming in the near future, it's the conditional formatting decoration. You will be now able to say, for example, if a KPI is showing $1 million, you will be able to put the KPI in green, that it's already available. But then you will be able to put an icon or put an arrow going up. So you will have all this decoration available soon. And then you will have new type of dashboard filters like checkboxes, radio button, and more ability to customize the map and the calculation, and more ability to scale your canvas grid layout and so on. So a lot of things are coming soon, so stay tuned. And remember, you can find this roadmap into our community website. Alex just put the URL into the chat box. Now we can go to the next slide. I wanted to show you a video of a digital assistant, which is going to be
is the ability
coming.
to interact with the Oracle Analytics Assistant to explore my data and create content. My first question relates to my topic. However, my catalog has no data to address it. Oracle Analytics will choose a general model, such as Cohere or ChatGPT, to answer the question while indicating that the answer came from a public model. My follow-up question is slightly more complex, as it relates to the previous response combined with the curated data that I have. Here, the assistant will combine the two using our internal analytics AI model optimized for data computation and quality. I can use quick modifiers to enhance my question, and when I find something interesting, I can add the resulting insight onto my canvas. Using the assistant, I can create new calculations by describing what I need, and I can use these calculations in follow-up questions. The key is that the assistant is not the experience. It is interlaced into my experience, and I can use it for some tasks and still choose to do other tasks myself. For example, I can still manually create insights and use them in synergy with chat. Clicking on the chat icon on any visualization allows me to get more insights and modify it using chat. Once my content is ready, I can share it with others. While they can consume it as a dashboard, I can also use tools like Synthesia to create visual newscasts to tell my data story.
Welcome to your Oracle Analytics update as of May 23, 2023. Today, we will examine climate change and the impact of flooding. Let's start by looking at countries with major investments in flood prevention. Among the 4 countries with the biggest flood prevention projects, the Netherlands has the biggest population.
So it was a quick video, and as you can see, we are showing 2 different things: the AI analytic digital assistant, which is going to use ChatGPT, Cohere, different large language model. You will be able to ask questions, and Oracle Analytics will automatically answer, but also create data visualization for you. And then you saw the generative AI avatar, where you can literally ask someone to present this data to your executive through a video or a presentation. And now I'm going to show you a quick demo of what's coming in the current version with AI. So as you can see, this is Oracle Analytics. I'm refreshing my instance. At the right, you can see that we can register AI model. And I did a test. I register an AI model to recognize passport. And you can see here, this is a data visualization. You can see the passport of Philip. Philip is going to do a full demo of AI document understanding with, I believe, receipt or invoice. He's going to show you the technical side. Here we have a passport of Philip also. It's recognizing all the text using AI, ingesting the text into a data set. You can see the data here, and telling me with a specific rule that I set up that the passport is expired. If I click on myself, for example, it's telling me it's passing. If I click on Jamie, it's telling me expire. On Farivar, it's telling me it pass. Gabi, and so on and so on. And again, it's recognizing the image. So you could scan 100,000 of passport. It will recognize the text, put that into a data set, and then you can build this type of dashboard. And to show you, it's a real dashboard that I created with Oracle Analytics. I have the data set here. I have different ways to see it, that way or that way. I created everything from scratch. At any time, I can add different columns to my dashboard here, and it's going to show me different information. So I'm going to stop to share, and Alex, you can take it from here.
All right, thanks, Ben. Some great stuff coming up. And for my portion, I just want to quickly show you exactly, kind of zoom in on what's been released for November. And again, all the demos are really going to dive into this deeper. So I'm just going to take a second here. You can see in the exploring, dashboarding, and storytelling, you'll be able to now create and manage watch lists as a consumer user, giving you easy access to your favorite workbooks. You can now easily format negative numbers in red just by using a single click. You can customize pieces of your maps, including colors of the borders or outlines, the widths of points, lines, and regions. Under data connectivity, you'll now be able to use Delta Share or Google Analytics v4 as a data source for workbooks. You can easily enrich your data more easily through dragging and dropping knowledge enrichment directly to the canvas. We're going to take a look with Adam, granting individual permission to user-defined application roles. Now you can track usage by username and service logs. And finally, as Ben mentioned, the OCI document understanding models. We'll take a look at that with Philippe in detail. So just wanted to zoom in on exactly what's been released for November. We do, as always, have our new features playlist out there. I'm going to put this information, the link to what's new for November, as well as the feature playlist in the chat so you can access it. But let's move forward and take a look at fine-grained permissions with Adam. Thanks for joining, Adam.
Hello. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes looking at a new feature that's landed in November. Could I have the next slide, please? So up until now in Oracle Analytics Cloud, if you wanted to provision a user to use particular pieces of functionality in the product, the way to do that was to grant them or make them a member of one of the predefined application roles that we see here. So if they were an admin user, you'd make them a member of the BI Service Administrator, and that would give them all of the functionality to administer the system. If you wanted to make them an author, you'd make them the DV content author, and that would give them the ability to create all types of data visualization content. The sister role of that to author classic content is the BI content author, and then we have two consumer roles as well. So that was what the kind of coarse-grained way of provisioning users to do things in the analytics cloud. Could I have the next slide, please? In many cases, even though you're a consumer, you want to allow your consumers to create content as well. But often you want to restrict what those authors can do. So, for example, you may want to have a set of users who can create workbooks based on some curated data sets that you've given them access to, but you may not want to let them create their own data sets or create their own connections. So next slide, please. So what we've added in the November update, and we've been working on this for quite a while, and we have more of these permissions coming down the pipe. But these are the ones that we've added in the November update. And as you see at the top, we've concentrated on those authoring permissions. So we've added specific permissions that allow you to create connections, data flows, sequences, data sets, watch lists, and workbooks. And this then allows you to create your own user-defined application roles that can only do a subset of the authoring capabilities. We've also added some specific permissions to the administrator, and a number of these are very powerful permissions that you can use to create connections to other OCI services. And then you see at the bottom, we have a couple of schedule permissions and one added to the consumer, allowing you to grant the permission to export the workbooks to documents. So with that, I'm going to go over and share my screen and demo what we have. I hope you see that.
Yes, I can see it.
You do? Okay, great. So what I'm going to do in this demonstration is I'm going to create a user-defined application role that will allow a user just to use a subset of the authoring capabilities that we just talked about. So the first thing that we do, so I'm logged in as a user with the BI Service Administrator role, so an administrator if you like. And if I go to the console, and inside the console, this is where most of the administration capabilities are in Oracle Analytics Cloud. And I'm going to go to the users and roles functionality here. And what this shows you is it brings back the list of users from the underlying identity service and the list of groups. So all of that is actually coming from outside of OAC. The parts that are inside OAC, so OAC it uses a role-based access control model. So in role-based access controls, you have your users and groups as one entity, and then you have roles, and the roles are assigned permissions. So you sort of have that kind of three-way triangle. And inside Oracle Analytics Cloud, we have predefined application roles that we supply, and then user-defined application roles that you can create yourself and manage. So the predefined application roles you can see here, like BI Service Administrator, DV Content Author. If I go into DV Content Author, what you'll see is you can see who's a member of this role, and you can also see if this role itself is a member of anything else. And then what we've added down here is this permissions area. So if we go into the permissions, we can see that this predefined application role, it actually has a bunch of permissions that are attached to the role itself. So the role itself allows you to do certain things. And then you can see the permissions that we've added to this particular predefined application role. Now, the predefined application roles are, we don't allow you to change those. So this gives you a level of consistency over time. But instead of that, what we can do is we can create our own user-defined application role that only has a subset of these permissions. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go and create an application role. And I'll just call it my author. So if I go into the role I just created and I go to the permissions tab, so I can see it comes with no permissions. And all I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm just going to add one of those new permissions. I'm going to give it the ability to create workbooks. And that's all I'll do there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a member to this role. So let's go and have a look. Let's log out of this user and log in with this test user and see what they can do. So this user, it actually has the DV consumer, and now we've added this this one authoring permission as well. So what you can see is that they can actually see the data set, so they can see something under this data area now, because these are the data sets that they have access to, and they can create, but they can only create a workbook because that's the only permission we've given to them. So if they were to create a workbook, these are the data sets they could create it from. So you'll notice down here that other than these three items, they can't see anything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to my admin user. And go back into the users and roles. So if you remember a few minutes ago, I talked about the DV content author having these role-based permissions as well. So there's certain things that that haven't been split out into these permissions. They're still part of the DV content author application role. For example, this gives you access to the jobs page and the machine learning page, for example. So what we'll do is we don't want to give that test user the full DV content author, but we do want to give it the role-based permissions from content author sometimes. So what we'll do is we'll just copy those permissions in. So up here we have an option to copy the permissions from one of those predefined application roles. And what that's done is actually copied all the permissions from DV content author. And if we don't want those, then we just remove the ones that we don't want. So what I'll do is I'll leave on the permission to create workbooks, but I'll also leave on the watch lists and the data sets. Okay, so if I go back to my other user, what you'll then see is so as well as creating the ability to create workbooks, we can actually now create data sets, but there's some other things that have lit up. So for example, I now have access to the jobs page, and that's because of those role-based permissions. So that's really how you can use this functionality. And as I say, we're going to add permissions over time. And then I will just show you one sort of last thing around something that is in DV content author and not in our user-defined application role. So you may want to add this as well. So if we look at the DV content author role itself, so when we deliver this application role, we actually make it a member of the BI content author, so it gets all of the classic authoring capabilities itself as well. And we haven't done that at this point to our user-defined application role. So we would want to, we could, if we wanted to, we could add this to our user-defined application role as well. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I just have one final slide, which is more of the how you would use this. Could you just bring up the last slide for me? Yeah, so we've covered most of these things, but when you're actually using it, these are the sort of things that you may want to know. So first of all, we haven't removed any permissions from the predefined application roles. So whatever you had before, that role could do exactly the same thing. It's just that now you'll see some of those permissions split out, so you can see exactly what that role gives you. So what we've done though is where we bring on net new functionality, we've created new permissions, and these things can be added to the predefined they have been added to the appropriate predefined application role. So we also already mentioned that we can't actually remove or add permissions to those predefined application roles, but you can certainly do that to your own user-defined application role. So you create your user-defined application role, and that's the one where you will adjust the permissions to meet whatever requirements you have. And then the last point here is that we do have catalog permission or catalog privileges, and depending on how you made your implementation, if you've used those predefined application roles when you've assigned catalog privileges, you may want to review that if you then start using user-defined application roles. So you may need to swap out your predefined application role for your user-defined application role in that case. So that's all I have. So back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Adam. I know a lot of our users will find that update helpful. We're going to move over to the experience and visualization features with Avinash. Avinash, well.
Thank you, Alex. If I may share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Hey, everyone. The November 2023 update of OEC comes with a rich set of visualization features that I'll quickly go over in a couple of slides and then demo some of them live. The consumer experience, which is really the present workspace for the author to curate tailored end-user experiences on your workbook/dashboards. We have completed the last set of enhancements and feature capabilities that we've been working on to the presentation flow experience. So some of them to call out is the new top tab navigation style. So a lot of our OBIE customers have been accustomed to the top tab styles, and it's an ask. It's a popular ask in Ideal App that we have rolled out in the product. Consumer users can now add visualizations to watch list, right? As long as, just like how Adam just demoed the fine-grained permissions, as long as the user has access to create and edit watch list permissions as part of their application role, they will be able to now create their own watch list and save visualizations to featured watch list on homepage. And then we have added capabilities that allow the author to now curate the header bar on your workbook, particularly to show or hide some of the options that we display in header bar, such as the notes, data refresh, undo, redo actions, and export dialog. And we also added properties to allow the author to make the top workbook level filter bar as read-only filters, in addition to providing more fine-grained properties to hide some of the filter actions and the menu that appears for consumer users by default today. And then the last one is really a convenience, but a more powerful and value-add feature for authors, where the author can start by defining fine-grained interaction permissions at the workbook level. So if your workbook had 3 canvases, currently up until the September update, the author would have to go to every single canvas properties in present and then define what the interaction properties that they want to open up for consumer users. But now with the November update, the author can define a default at the workbook property level and override at every single canvas, right? Which is a lot easier to do than to do it at every canvas in present. So I'll demo all of these features real quick. Before that, on the authoring side, a lot of functionalities and enrichments we've added to the data visualization area. Let me start with parameters. So we're still working on completing our parameter roadmap, especially the binding of parameters for range filters. So as of September update, you can bind parameters to list filters. With the November update, you can now bind parameters to date and numeric filters. Date and numeric filters have a start and end or a from and to range, which can be parameterized. And in one of the upcoming releases in 2024, we will allow binding of parameters to the top, bottom, and relative date filter options. If you're familiar with double columns, which is particularly common in subject areas and RPT-based presentation layers, parameters can be created for double columns, really a column that has a key value pair. You can create a parameter for a double column and then perform all of the parameter and the database actions, inclusive of data actions, which will only pass the value of the double column and not the key. And coming to the enrichments for the data visualizations, line thickness and transparent properties has been added to all the applicable OAC visualizations, out-of-the-box visualizations like line charts, combo, overlay. And we also have added properties to define the measure scale options. There's a default algorithm in place today, but a popular request has been for the author to define if they want to aggregate their measure in thousands, millions, billions, or trillions. So you will see 4 different options that you can set for every single measure in your visualization. Maps also has properties to control the outline, and the line thickness is point properties, which I'll show in a minute as well. Tree map and grid map has some enhancements to data labels. Tree map, we added font properties to control the data label size and other decorations that come with font. Grid heat map did not have an option to display the data labels, so we've added that, and we'll soon add the same font properties for grid heat map as well. And then the negative values, we dropped a feature last release in September to display the negative values, in accounting format, which is really within parentheses. We basically expanded that to display the negative values in a red format within parentheses. So you will see 4 different options now that you can pick and choose, as opposed to using conditional formatting to then color your negative values in red. And then list box filters, again, is a new filter control that we added in September, a single select filter control or filter experience. We've added a few properties that allow you to show or hide null, show or hide all as a selectable value. And then also binding parameters to list box filters is also enabled with the November update. So let me go into my demo server. I'll start with this workbook here. You can see that in this workbook, the author has used top tabs as the navigation style, right? Again, something that our classic users have been asking for. And then on the workbook filter bar, you can see that the author has defined the scope of the workbook data to be for these time periods, right? 2013, 14, and 15. I'm clicking on the filter, but it is a read-only filter, right? The idea here is that authors can use workbook filters to now define the scope of the data and choose to hide the workbook filter bar completely, or open it up as a read-only filter so it provides context for your end users, right? And you would also see that there used to be a filter menu on the right-hand side of the filter bar, which is completely hidden. And that filter menu exposes options to control your limit by to show or hide default values settings for your filter pills on the top level filter bar. So in this case, the author has chosen to hide it. And then you can also see that on the header bar. Because I'm a user with edit permission, right, I see the pencil icon, but otherwise, if you are a consumer user, right, in this example, the header bar options are completely hidden, right? So you're now excluding the options for exporting the data, for hitting on data refresh, even undo, redo actions are hidden from the header bar. So let's go into the edit mode. I'll go to present real quick, and I'll show you the properties that we've added. In present, the navigation style has top tabs as a new option, right? That's a pretty simple but a real value add feature for customers. The toolbar is a new property section that we've added. In the example, the author has chosen to hide the toolbar. That's why we did not see any toolbar options. And then filter bar is a new property sections, right? The fine-grained properties for all of the filter actions is defined. So in this case, the author has chosen to show the filter bar, but disable all of these actions, right? Which makes the filters read-only pretty powerful. And then this visualization sections, it used to be only on the canvas properties. So if we go to canvas one's properties, right? So you can define, so until September, you will have to go to every single canvas and then define what all the visualization toolbar menu options you want to show, and what kind of those actions you want to expose for this canvas, right? But now the author can define that at the workbook level, right? And then override at specific canvas level. So that's the idea here. Going back to the data viz enhancements, you can see on this table, each of these measures have a different scale options. Quantity orders is in 1,000, sales in million, profit in 1,000, target sales is in billion. So if you go to the properties of table and under the measure tab, expand on aggregate. No, what is it? Yeah, sorry, abbreviate, not aggregate, excuse me. So when you, so the default options are on and off. So when you set it to on, it's going to use the default algorithm that the product has. But if you want to override it, then use the abbreviate property to then pick one of the, the scale options that you want for your measure. And this gets reflected everywhere in the product, not just on the visualization, but on tooltips, data labels, etc. Right? Tree map has a new font, data label font editor controls, right? So in this case, right, the author has basically overridden the font properties, and then grid heat map was missing the data labels, and we basically exposed the option to turn on or turn off the data label. But this is a bug in my test server, right? Technically, when it's on, you would see the data label here. When it's off, it should be turned off. But the bug has been fixed in our normal production servers. Let me go to line properties. So here's the different variations of line styles that we have added for the different charts in OAC. Line charts, this is overlay, combo, 3 types of line patterns, dotted, dashed, and then the solids, which is the existing ones or the current pattern. You can also choose your width. So the idea here is that you start by defining the line properties in the general section of the visualization, and then you can override it at the measure for every single measure right in the measures tab, right? So if you expand on sales, for example, you would see let me go to overlay chart. So if you expand on the layers, you would see properties to control the pattern of the lines as well, right? So you can do that. And then lastly, Maps has, oops, excuse me, let me change to a different server. Maps has the option to provide the outline styles. So if I go into the edit, so in this case, right, you can see the outline for the point and also for the polygon. It's being highlighted, and there are specific controls. I'll show that real quick. And then, so let me go to the point properties of the map layers. And you would see these different options for controlling the format options of the outline enabled for maps with the November 2023 update. The last feature is binding parameters to range filters. So here's an example where the author has exposed a date parameter as a filter control, and based on a date being selected, if I pass 2013 January 1 as my input date, then this date gets passed on to the 2 tables below, right? And the data is filtered to show the sales by this date, right? In this case, it's using the order date, and in this case, it's using the ship date, right? So binding of parameters to range filters basically opens up additional use cases that you want to expose to your consumers and provide that dynamic manipulation of data. This is an example where a generic date control is being passed to 2 different dates, and then the visualization basically accepts the dates and it does something behind the scenes. The binding experience is exactly the same as you would do for list filters. So here in this tabular visualization, I've got order date in my filters, and I have basically used the operator to start at, and you can see that the X within parentheses, which is the parameter icon, is turned green, which means that it is currently bound to a date parameter, which is a very simple parameter of date type, which has a default value, right? So this is a very common example. And there are many more examples and use cases to dynamically pass dates and manipulate the data in your content. So that's all my features. Alex, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks, Avinash. And as mentioned, if you want to see any more demos of what we've showed, what Avinash showed, you can see that on the November playlist release that I put. If you want documentation or further information, you can check out the What's New. That should have it all in there. Next, we're going to move over to OCI Document Understanding with Philippe.
Hello, thank you. Alex, can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen coming up?
Yes, I see it.
Thank you very much. So good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Philippe Lyons from the product management group of Oracle Analytics, and I'm going to use the next 7-10 minutes here to talk to you about one recent integration of OCI AI, which is document understanding as part of Oracle Analytics experience. You may have seen some of the presentations we've made so far in this call, but not only about our objectives as part of Oracle Analytics, which is to enable more and more business users to make value out of AI and ML. So we make a simple experience as part of analytics of complex ML or AI processes. And that's exactly what document understanding is. It's one more cell into this. So actually, we do achieve that by several features in the product. Some features are about augmented AI or augmented experience. Some features are about making machine learning simpler for the users. And some features are about integrating existing AI within Oracle, cognitive AI within Oracle, OCI, and making it simple for OAC and OAS users to consume. And that's what the document understanding feature is, which was released in November. So you can see there are many of these features. You may have seen some of these demoed in this call already. And today is about one of the cognitive AI integration, document understanding. You may have heard about vision, image, object recognition. You may have heard about sentiment analytics that is already part of Oracle Analytics. You may have heard about AutoML also in the call or other features. I'll zoom on this cell here in this matrix today. What is document understanding? It's a capability from OCI. It's a service from OCI that allows to recognize text fields and tag specific text fields out of any type of documentation. Could be images, could be PDF. So you can see here text that are being recognized on a receipt or text. You remember the demo from the slide from Ben about recognizing fields on a passport or on a driver license and so on. So you can see different capabilities as part of document understanding, and we've integrated this in OAC. So let me right away jump into the demo here. So here is some data. In fact, let us start with this. So here's some data I have with, sorry, let me just drag this away from my screen so I can see it. I will pretend that I am a financial controller here and I have some expense report data. So the text in the Excel file behind the scenes represents what I extracted from my system. And also I can see images of receipts, which most of us upload in the system when we have expense reports, along with reporting our expense reports. And so these are just images, plain and simple images like all of us can have, and they have different formats, they can different orientations, different type of real life expense reports. So as a financial controller, I can do all sorts of reporting here on the expense reports. I can measure what has been reported. I can slice it and dice it with whatever I have in the system. But really what I am interested in is to match this with the images that are provided as part of the expense report. Are these amounts matching what are on the receipts? So it's very hard for me to do this, but if I simply leverage a AI service through a data flow in OAC, and that's the document understanding AI service, I can achieve this within minutes. So let me create a data flow. So data flow is a sequence of steps that we achieve in OAC. And here, I'm just going to say, let's start my data flow with a bucket. A bucket is a folder on the Oracle Cloud, simple cloud folder. And I have posted all of my 500 images there on the bucket, just copy the JPEGs or whatever files I had directly on that bucket. And next step in my data flow will be simply to invoke a AI model, which has been registered in OAC already. So these are the models that has been registered in OAC. I can see some other document classification models. I can see a receipt key value extraction model at the bottom, driver license key value extraction, and so on. It's fairly easy to register. It's actually very easy to register OCI models in OAC. That's exactly the purpose of this feature. But as a business user, once it is registered, I can simply consume it in my data flow like I'm doing right now. So what does it mean? I just have to tell the system, use that bucket URL, point the OCI service to that bucket URL, and extract all sorts of fields. So you can see here what this is going to extract from every single image that I have in the bucket. So you can see merchant name, you can see transaction date, total, subtotal, tax, tip, what have you. That's it. All I have to do left is, well, of course, I can make my data flow a little longer if I want to, but I don't need it. I just can run this. And what's going on right now is nothing is happening in OAC. Everything is happening in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. The AI service calls the OAC calls the AI service, runs the image, the document understanding, and generates a data set in OAC. So of course, this is fast forwarded. It actually takes 2 or 3 minutes for about 500 images in this case. And it generates this data set here that's an extracted receipt fields, which was just created right now by the data flow, and the data set for each single image has merchant name, merchant address, tip, total, tax, transaction date, transaction time. So you can see this. This is a simple table of what was read from all of my images. You can see the image URL in the middle of the table, the tax amount for each of these images, the total amount, and so on. This is really cool. But the best part, of course, is that I can simply join this with my reported data. So now you can see on the left here, I have all my extracted fields data, as well as my reported expense from the system, and I can match them. So this table is showing me reported total versus the extracted total. So what employees have reported and what we've read from the pictures. And I can simply look at where I find variances. And if I look at one of these documents, for instance, this one has 87 reported, but really the system read 37 out of it. So there is a gap. Or this one here has 192 reported, but really it has 182 on the receipt. So that's one use case of me leveraging the document understanding service. Of course, you can do much more with it. Even on the extent of expense reports here, I could even use the merchant information and show how much of my expenses were with a given merchant in particular. So these are all the expenses we've had with Walmart. This is something I'm not capable of doing without that. So this is Costco and so on. So you can see the functional value that I can extract of this as a business user myself, because it's made available for me in a simple way. And that's the document understanding integration. So I'll stop there. I'll save you from the back end. There is much more like you see on the matrix here, but feel free to ask questions or reach out to us. I'll be happy to give you more details. Thanks.
Thanks, Philippe. And I think we have several questions for you in the chat. Again,
Cool.
the PDF will be available after this. If you want to see a demo again, that will be on the YouTube page. I'm going to switch over.
Exactly.
We're going to move to our last presenter here for a Fusion Analytics CX demo. We have Manjot. Thank you for joining. This is your first time with us today, so welcome.
Thank you, Alex, and great demo, Philippe. It's always your demos are always fantastic, and for me personally, it's now very tough to follow. Okay, let me share my screen.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Manjot.
I'll stop sharing. And we answered several questions while you're pulling that up. We answered several questions. We'll, at the end of this demo, we'll get to the rest of them live. So thanks.
I want to focus on two very specific things that I want you guys to take away from a CX analytics perspective, but I'm also putting this in the context of the general product in terms of the capabilities that we bring in. The first thing that I want you guys to remember is one of the use cases that a lot of our customers have is, can I take, for example, a set of key accounts that we manage as part of a business and look at metrics for those key accounts across all our functions, whether it is marketing, sales, quoting, service, subscription, ERP, supply chain, and so on. And building reports like that historically has been very difficult because you have to do a lot of joins and cross subject area joins and things like that. But today, thanks to a semantic model, we have a lot of, we have confirming dimensions, which are these cross-pillar join keys on which you can join different subject areas and put together reports like this. Like, for example, what you see here is an account 360, where for different customers, you're able to see different metrics that is coming from different products, different Fusion products. So, for example, this is coming from, actually, it's coming from sales, but then the lead is coming from marketing. This is coming from Sales Cloud. This is coming from Sales Cloud. This is coming from your ERP. This is coming from your subscription management. This is coming from your service. Again, your ERP, and then this is coming from supply chain, right? So the idea being that you can, for example, take a look at all your different customers and say, okay, if I want to say, go to, let's say, Graham Gym, and I want to look at this particular customer and then see for this particular customer, okay, how many leads did we generate? How many open pipeline do we have? What is our won and lost revenue? Or for example, let's say I want to look at all my gym customers. Let's say I ran a campaign, or I'm looking at all gym customers as a target segment of customers that comes into my territory, right? So you just select those customers, and then you're able to see metrics coming from your front office, your mid office, and your back office, everything together. And just to show you how this is working in the background, there is no SQL joins, there is no complicated stuff that we're doing in the background, right? And you can validate this from your instances if you have it. That one of the things that we've done is we've exposed this thing called sold to customer as a confirming dimension. So in almost all FAW subject areas, you will find this confirming dimension called sold to customer, and this is the common joining column based on which all of these metrics are reported. So if you look at the visual grammar for each of these different graphs, you will see that there's not very different. So this is your simple metric by your attribute. This is again likewise a sales metric by your attribute, and everything is getting joined based on this particular column. So that's the first takeaway: the ability to join your front office, your sales, marketing, service, Fusion ERP, supply chain management, quotes, financials, everything in a single report, and being able to do like strategic reporting like this, which is to bring your customers and then look at key accounts and say, okay, how are we doing on those accounts? That's the first thing. The second takeaway that I want you guys to remember is CX Analytics also enables business transformations, revenue transformations, if you will. So let's say we are typically a business who have been running perpetual based license or on a specific business model, and you're looking to expand your business models, maybe move to subscriptions or something else. You can use some of the CX metrics and analytics to drive some of the transformation journeys, and we really do support that. So I'll take you an example. So this is, for example, a chief revenue officer view, right? So you get to see KPIs from different business applications. Like this is coming from your subscription, this is coming from your marketing, coming from your ERP, churn, and so on. And so as a revenue officer, I'm worried about revenue and churn, those kind of things. And I see that, for example, here my churn is like nearly 9%, which is, I see this as concerning, and I see hardware as a biggest contributor. Now I say, okay, can I understand what is really going on in hardware? And so you can drill down into the customer churn dashboard. And again, look at churn metrics from all different dimensions and attributes. So I can look at, for example, in what periods have customers been churning, from which geographies have they been churning. It looks like they've been churning a lot more from Northeast. Is revenue being affected? Are there churns coming from any specific business model? This, for example, here you see that perpetual based license churn is more than the others. But the fact is also that we are able to bring in data from a lot of other places, right? So for example, here if you see, this is an important sort of graph, right? So you see here hardware we know is the biggest contributor for churn, but we also see now an additional insight, which is that 550 kilowatt diesel generator is the most significant contributor for the churn, which is 6% of the total 8% in that category. So now I know which category and I know which product is contributing to that churn. So now the next question is, can I look at, for example, look at the product performance, like what is really going on? And again, with the semantic model, you have everything which is connected, right? So you can take an entity and look at it from a marketing lens, from a sales lens, from a financial lens. You can also look at it, for example, from a service lens. And this is important from revenue operations and those kind of things, where, for example, marketing guys can look at service data, service guys can look at marketing data. If, for example, you have a revenue operations team which is sharing information across your lines of business. And so I'm able to see all those views. And one of the things I see here is, for example, that diesel generator is the one that is causing the most, but I'm also able to see as a revenue officer that, the number of service requests on diesel generator is growing more than the others. Assuming this is a simplified view of, just 5 products that you're selling. You can also have filters and things like that. And I can go further into that service view, and I see that, for example, in this case, I'm able to compare customers from 2 different clusters. So here I see a cluster of customers from 0 to 3 years of their life cycle, and 3 to 5 years, and then 5+ years. And I see a contrast between, this younger generation of customers and these older generation customers. So I want to see what is the difference. So if I mouse over, I see that these customers are more than 5 years. They've been using the product for more than 5 years, and they don't have a preventive maintenance package. Maybe they've not renewed, maybe we've not sold it to them, whatever the case may be. But if you look at customers in the 0 to 3 segment, which is they have less number of service requests and support tickets, and they also have less number of customers, you see that they have a preventive maintenance package. So you kind of see that customers who are churning out have a higher number of service requests, and they don't have a preventive maintenance package. And so one of the things you could do as a revenue officer is, okay, what if I were to offer these customers who have been on my perpetual license a subscription offering, which is preventive maintenance? So, have them stay back and give them, because they're in the point where they are churning out and they're having problems with the product. Can I give them a subscription offering, which is not something that you would do traditionally? And so if you have access to your comparative information, you see that, for example, 50 kilowatts is varied across these different price points, and the lowest is 1600. And you can play with your price points now. Let's say if I were to give it at 1600, match the lowest competitor, what is my margin? I mean, now I can calculate margins and things like that because I have access to supply chain data, I have access to cost data and all of that. And so if my requirement was that I need to have at least a 10% margin, I can play with these numbers and then do a little bit of what if analysis and figure out, okay, what offering makes sense for me to sell to my customers so that I'm able to make a margin, number one. 2, I'm able to be the most competitive offering in the market. And 3, I'm also able to arrest the churn, right? So these kind of transformation journeys are possible using Fusion CX analytics. And that's the second takeaway that I wanted to share. I'm happy to take questions in Q&A.
Thank you. That was a great demo to wrap us up for the day. I'm just going to pop a quick poll up here before you leave. And we're also going to get to some of those questions that we haven't answered yet. So if you have a second, let us know how we did. And we're going to also move over to answering those last questions. All right, let's see. We have a few left. First one from Darcy. Do the custom roles act like out-of-the-box roles in that they can be linked to security groups in identity management? Does anyone from the Oracle team know that?
We don't have Adam. Let's see, do the custom roles act like the OTP role in that they can be linked to security group in identity management? I believe it's the case. Manju, do you want to reply to that one?
To Joel's question, Ben?
To Darcy on the Q&A, do the custom roles act like the out-of-the-box roles in that they can be linked to security group in the identity management?
Conceptually, yes. That would be the idea.
Okay, perfect. Alex, do you want to go to the next question?
All right, from Mohammed, is there a way to grant author to some essay and consumer for remaining?
Definitely in Classic.
for sure, but I believe the question is for DV. I need to take this into more detail with Adam, I guess, and Alan. I believe if the author is not authorized with access to the essay in Classic, he won't see it in DV as well, but I need to confirm that.
Okay, next one. What is the main key feature when comparing OAS versus Power BI? And why should you choose OAS and not Power BI?
So there are a lot of things. First, OAS, it's really on-prem. So it's you can use OAS on your own server. It's not necessarily in the cloud. But if we compare really Oracle Analytics and Power BI, you have a lot of different differences. The fact that it's first two different products with two different cloud. Usually Power BI, you can use the services in Microsoft Azure. Oracle Analytics, you can use the AI services that Philippe just demonstrated inside Oracle Cloud. We have a lot of different visualization compared to Power BI. In Oracle Analytics, we have more than 50 types of data visualization, and we are adding that all the time. So you will see that it's also one of the key change. Philippe, do you want to tell anything about the differences between Power BI or Avinash?
Enterprise aspect, I would say that is by design as part of Oracle Analytics, where you address enterprise reporting as well as departmental reporting and augmented features. So to a large extent, there is a scope here that is unmatched, I think. But that's, you know, as you said, Ben, there are many other aspects to this.
A semantic model would be another feature to call out that Power BI does not have today, which is a big enterprise aspect that Philippe is highlighting.
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, next one. Did OData Connector upgrade to the latest version?
No clue on that one. Alan should be the one to answer that, but we will ask Alan and we will follow up with you, Praveen. I believe it will be hold on, I'm checking my roadmap really quick because I believe on the roadmap that we have online, it's written the version. I think it's OData Connector version 4. Now my technical knowledge is not up to date with OData, so I'm not sure if we are in version 4 or 5 or whatever. So it will be version 4. I think in the coming month. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Other than sold to customer, are there any other conformed dimensions across Fusion models?
Yeah, great question. So I'll try and answer this in a minute. So there are 4 general entities in which you can conform, right? So it is either customer, product, time, or employee, right? So customer, you've seen, this is the one that is most widely used. The next one is employee or resource. And yes, we do have a conforming dimension between CX and HCM. So you can answer questions like if an employee attended a training, did that actually impact his, his performance in sales and things like that. And the third one is date. Date, again, there are different business date fields. And so we don't have a conforming date field because, again, there are different date fields. But then you can always pick out a month and say, I want to look at it for the month of Jan, irrespective of what the date is. So that kind of manipulation is possible. And the fourth one is product. Product is the item ID is exposed. Everything in the bottom in Fusion goes to one item ID for a product, and we've exposed item ID in many subject areas. So you should be able to join, but just have to watch out for the grain of the subject area. So long story short, we do have some support for all 4, but then it varies depending on what your use case is and what kind of reporting you're trying to do.
All right, and last one we have to wrap us up. Can we connect to Databricks? Are you aware of any references that use Databricks?
So we have some customer, a lot of customer connecting to Databricks through different ways. But what we are going to release, and it's still under Safe Harbor, because we are currently having some project on it. We might have a direct connector for Databricks, but again, it's under safe harbor. We cannot communicate on dates, but we will have that. Now, again, we have a lot of customers that are using Oracle Analytics Cloud on top of Databricks, and it's working very well.
Okay, and we just got one last one in. I think Fari, maybe you might be able to answer this. The future roadmap had incentive compensation analytics.
Actually, I can take that, Alex. So yeah, that's CX. So incentive comp, our plan right now is to offer to release a bundle that you can import into FAW and then get your initial incentive comp analytics going. The actual productized version is sort of TBD. So 24A or 24B, we don't have a time frame yet, but you should have a bundle for that for incentive comp in that time frame.
Okay, and that wraps us up for November's OA Live. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Oracle team. And we will be back in January. As always, this will be recorded. It will be put on YouTube and the Community Analytics webpage. So check back if you want to see the playback and rewatch this. Other than that, have a happy new year and we will see you in January.
Thank you, everyone. And thanks, we saw a lot of customers joining from the NASA, Vanguard, RTBF, everybody. So thank you again very much and see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.